Hello, podcast listener. It's 2025 if you're listening to this the day after we post it. But if you haven't, then gosh, enjoy this episode of JJ Meets World as we look forward to the future. We've got some great ideas, maybe even some things that'll help you as we round out to 2025. And by the way, if you'd like to help support our podcast, visit jjmeetsworld.com where you can donate to our Patreon, pick up some killer swag at our merch shop, or click the link to Apple Podcast and give us a 5-star review.
1, 2, 3, 4. J.J. Gordon, sort of like that Indiana Jones in that he's always sniffing out his next adventure. Yes, he is. He's always interviewing guests so he can have them on his show and they can talk about pop culture, arts, and leisure. J.J. has his flag unfurled and he likes his french fries curled and he's fun and then he twirled as he goes to meet the world. He will march into the rain even if his ankle sprained. Take a peek inside his brain. This podcast is called J.J. Meets World.
Should old acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind? Should old as in the Auld Lang Syne. You sing that song? You ever get that song all excited for you when it comes to be New Year's? Right? I think that's a pretty good version considering like I'm not drunk and like on New Year's, like when you drunkenly sing it.
It's rare that you give up your commitment to doing something halfway through.
It is.
Usually you go all the way.
Do you want me to? Because my favorite version of Auld Lang Syne comes from the Sex and the City movie soundtrack.
That's Scottish, right?
It is. Okay, so yeah, I want to actually talk about that at the beginning of this because it is a poem made famous by the Scottish poet Robert Burns. And for those of you who are looking for something fun in the new year, there is Robert Burns Day, which is on his birthday every year, and people celebrate it by reading his poetry and enjoying Scottish things, Scottish food included. And it is he's a really cool dude. And it was like 1790 to 1826 or something. You know, he's so pretty old for that.
Something
era.
about living in Scotland and Ireland at that time just made you real good at poetry.
It really did, you know.
The fucking British.
So Auld Lang Syne is traditionally sung to bid farewell to the old year at the stroke of midnight on New Year's Eve, or Hogmanay, I believe is like Hogmanay is how they said it, like in Scotland. It's also heard at funerals, graduations, and it's a farewell. It's a so long to something and a hello to like a new birth of it, right? So Robert Burns wrote it in 1788, and it's actually the tune to it is from an older Scottish folk song. And so this is also in an era where it's like, I like the tune, but I want to change the words, right? And so in 1799, 11 years later, they actually put it into a more traditional pentatonic tune, and that's become the standard. It's the poem suggests it's an old long since, literally meaning long, long ago in Auld Lang Syne. And it's been used a lot, and a lot of people have really made a version of it their own. And when you think about it, it has how many songs, and I'm talking songs with lyrics, do we still sing from 250 plus years ago that are non-religious?
I was going to say, how old is Happy Birthday? I don't know.
Not even close, because someone still owns a copyright on it.
I thought that not anymore though. I think that finally changed.
Oh, did someone?
I remember years ago. I think that I'm repeating something that I don't know to be true.
Okay,
but it's an older. But it was not so old that it couldn't be copyrighted at some point.
Happy Birthday, I want to say, is in the 20th century. Right. So like, I mean, maybe like 1920. Like they're like, "Happy birthday to you." I better not do too much in case we have to pay royalties for it. There you go. I'm just stopping on bits left and right, up and down. I know that was the big thing for Hollywood for a long time was somebody owned the rights to Happy Birthday, and so it caused a huge hubbub because you couldn't use it in movies, and so that's why like you'll see someone sing some other kind of birthday song.
So the theme to it, that the melody that it uses, comes from a song called "Good Morning to All," which has been traditionally attributed to a pair of American sisters in the late 1800s, 1893. But that's been in dispute. The song is in the public domain in the United States, according to Wikipedia. But I think that was 2015 when that happened.
Oh, okay. So
2015 when that happened. So that's pretty wild. But it's also saying that in '98, Guinness World Records recognized it as the song in the English language most known, followed by "For He's a Jolly Good Fellow."
Oh,
so that
one I feel like is real old. For He's a Jolly Good Fellow feels like that one's been around for a long time.
Oh goodness! Allegedly, it was composed the night after the Battle of blah 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 in 1709.
See, there you go.
Allegedly, but still, that would probably be "For He's a Jolly Good Fellow."
Yeah. Although, like, for he's a jolly good fellow, for he's a jolly good fellow, for he's a jolly good fellow, which nobody can deny.
Which nobody can deny. Which nobody can deny.
And then is there more to that?
There's got to be more to it.
Because it sounds like a round where it never stops and it just keeps going and going and going.
This is the song that doesn't end.
As it goes on. I love Auld Lang Syne. I think it's great. And I think that, like, Guy Lombardo, the famous old, like, he had like an NBC show where is like the Guy Lombardo Orchestra live from Radio City Music Hall in New York City. And they have like that kind of that
it's kind of melancholic. Right?
It is.
It's kind of sad. And
it's
joyful
so
at the same
slow.
Time.
Right.
It's sort of where we're all collectively being reflective at the same time.
And I dig that, right? It's great.
I don't even know what the song is about. Auld Lang Syne.
So you're saying goodbye to it's like a goodbye song. Uh-huh. So let's drink a cup of kindness yet, so essentially like it's a toast to, what's been and looking towards what's new. So do you want to know what the actual lyrics are from the poem? Yeah.
Sure.
Would you like to hear that? Okay. So, Burns' original, the Scots version, but we're going to do the, here's what it sounds like from the Scots pronunciation guide. Is like if you're Scottish. She'd all acquaintance be forgoot and never brook to mean. She'd all acquaintance be forgoot and Auld Lang Syne. So here's what it is. Should old acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind? Should old acquaintance be forgot and Auld Lang Syne? For Auld Lang Syne, my dear, for Auld Lang Syne, we'll take a cup of kindness yet for Auld Lang Syne. And surely you'll buy your pint cup, and surely you'll buy mine, and we'll take a cup of kindness yet for Auld Lang Syne. And then, the poem.
What does Auld Lang Syne, that phrase, mean?
So Auld Lang Syne, it means like long times past.
Okay.
Auld Lang Syne means like from old, like the good times.
Okay.
The good times. So you're drinking a cup of kindness. You're cheersing to the old times, the good times that you had. I don't know if you've noticed this, but since we started this podcast, 7 years ago, 8 years ago?
Yeah, we just talked about 2018.
Yeah. So that was before 2018, wasn't it?
No, it was in
our first one? Okay. So yeah. So, oh my gosh, look at that. So 7 years, coming up on 7 years. We make New Year's resolutions every year, and we make promises to the audience.
That's never happened once.
No, it absolutely has.
Oh, no. I'm saying we've
never done a single thing.
We've never lived up to those. What I'm saying.
Yeah, we've made promises galore and haven't actually held up our end of the bargain.
So let's make some promises then.
Okay,
right now that we're definitely not going to fulfill.
Okay, let's make promises that if we would love if we could fulfill them, but we know that we for sure are not.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like the year I said I'm going to finish that board game I've been working on that I was designing.
Yeah.
Not even close.
Yeah, I'm going to get caught up. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get caught up finally, just in life.
Just in life?
Just in life. I'm going to get caught up. I shouldn't be so behind. I should get caught up.
So, every now and then they stop your library card if you haven't used it in a long time. Oh. And then they make you come in and just you have to say hey, I'm still using this, re-up it. And it's mainly because, what if you have a library card and you moved away? They don't just need all these accounts sitting around. And so my library card has been defunct for almost 8 years. And so I need to go re-up my library card. So that's something I'm going to do this year.
I need to get my real ID.
Yeah, you do.
I'm still on the old one.
But here's the thing. I went through the rigmarole of getting my real ID when they were threatening that, like, hey, you're going to do this. And so it was on December 31st. I took the day off of work and went in. In fact, this is a great story. So the DMV had moved out of their regular location and had moved into what is their new location in a strip mall next to a liquor store and a sewing store. And so I knew that, like, the real ID, like, it was kind of a rigmarole to get it. And so Jill and I went in at the same time, and I brought a copy of my power bill that came in my name, my old passport, my old ID, and, like, my birth certificate, right? So I brought more than I would ever really truly need. And the woman, we both have separate windows, right? So I go up to mine and she's like, oh my God, are you JJ from the radio? And I'm like, I sure am. She's like, I listen to your show every day. I was just saying to my friend, where is JJ? He's not on the show today. And I'm like, it's because I'm here with you, Diane. And so she's like, oh, you're getting your real ID? No problem. So takes me all of 4 minutes, and she gets it, and she's like, do you want to retake your photo? First time I've ever been asked, like, do you like this? And I'm like, actually, can I do something more like this? She goes, yeah, absolutely. So we get it done. I'm done. I turn around, I look down, and Jill has tears coming down her cheek. So she has gotten an employee at the DMV who doesn't have time for nonsense of any kind, apparently. And so she's told Jill, like, you have everything, but you need a piece of mail that's an official, like, bill or something with your name on it. Well, she doesn't have anything like that because all the bill, like our power bill, everything like that comes to me at the house, right? So this woman is being needlessly, like, cruel to her, like, in the, like, you should have read this before you came out here, and blah, blah, blah. And so Jill's like, I'm sorry, because they had already... To get your real ID, I guess they cancel your other one. Okay. And so they've already canceled her license, and it's December 31st, right? So she's going to go through New Year's without, like, it means that we can't go out that night because she won't have, like, a valid ID. Not that we were. I think we marathon Matthew McConaughey movies that night, and I ate prime rib by myself. And so I walk down there, and I was like, do you need a problem? She's like, well, I don't have anything that comes to the house that's, like, in my name, and blah, blah, blah. And so my lady, Diane, comes down, and she says, what's the problem? And so this woman explains and, like, really talks down to Jill. And then Diane's like, oh, no, we'll help him. Like, do you know who this guy is? And so she goes, what about your bank statement? And she's like, well, yeah, that's in my name. And she's like, oh, well, we'll just, we can use that. She's like, don't worry, you come around here and I'll let you sign into your bank on my computer and we'll print out your last statement and then that'll be good enough. So let her go behind the desk at the DMV, log into her Wells Fargo account, print the thing. And so then she, like, took care of us. We, like, walked out of there. And I remember telling Jill, I was like, see, do you see why I make I love to talk to people, and, like, this is that moment where a little bit of kindness and a little bit of, like,
well, you're saying that kind of sounds like you're throwing it at Jill, like, see what you did.
Jill does stuff like this all the time where she's like, oh, you took forever coming out of the grocery store, and, like, why did you talk to that, like, guy for so long? And I'm like, this is why.
You do talk to people for a long time.
I do.
You do.
Because, quite frankly, if I ran into Tom Hanks, I wouldn't want him looking at my watch being like, I gotta go.
That's why you do it. You're just practicing for if Tom Hanks ever comes by.
Yeah.
That's why if I'm ever out to eat with you and then you happen to recognize the person at the next table, I'm now stuck in a conversation with someone I don't know and don't want to talk to for 15 minutes.
Because I would want Tom Hanks to do that for me. I've also... I also started this thing this summer where
Jill, you have to understand, Jill, that to these people, I am Tom Hanks.
I am Tom Hanks. They're interested in what's going on.
Jill,
in my life.
I just made that woman's day.
Yeah, exactly. I gave her a ride on a fantasy ship. Okay. And I was the captain.
Here's how I think we'll know that you've moved from local celebrity to celebrity is if someone who isn't you starts a Wikipedia page or a subreddit.
Yeah, that's very true.
And isn't me.
Yeah.
Then we'll know.
Although I'm kind of worried about what the subreddit is. Like, be like, I saw this guy eating an Applebee's 2 for $20 by himself. Like,
You should hear some of these jokes he used to have in his stand-up comedy routine.
Right? I'd be like, oh boy, if only we had cell phone cameras back then.
I'm so goddamn glad we didn't.
Me too, right? For so many things, I feel bad for the youth of today because like they're being tracked all the time by their parents. So you're gonna get your real ID this next year. That's good for you.
Well, I just made it as my resolution, so I guess I probably won't.
I mean, what they're saying now is like October 2025 is when you can't get on a plane without it.
North Dakota had its own, like it's been different for each state, but North Dakota was able to push it back for a while, make it not a requirement. So this year it wasn't a requirement, but I think currently they're saying next year sometime.
But it shouldn't be a state by state requirement because sure, you can fly out of North Dakota, but let's say you're flying back from Seattle. If Washington's like, you need your real ID, your SOL, buddy.
It depends.
It should be if it's the FAA's policy.
I think it's the fact that I have a North Dakota license, which means you don't have to.
So they're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't think like North Carolina would be able to tell me you can't get on a plane here because you don't have a real ID. I think they'd have to do reciprocity and go, well, he's a North Dakota state resident. Therefore, he doesn't need one that says doesn't have the words real ID on it.
It's like, did you ever go to like a bar somewhere else where they had to pull out that book that had all the examples of IDs because like they had never seen a North Dakota ID before, and so they needed to tell if you were really 21 or if you were just fibbing?
I went and bought liquor the other day as a part of a Secret Santa present for a coworker of mine, and so I almost never go into a liquor store. I almost never go out for beers or anything, and I think one of the reasons is because I never get carded, and I don't like the way that makes me feel.
Yeah, I can see that.
I have not been carded in years, with the exception of, actually, no, I remember the exact last time I was carded. Yeah, and I really technically wasn't, I guess. I probably made myself get carded. And it was during lockdown, but it was at the point now where some places were beginning to open again.
Okay.
So it was probably one of my first restaurants with friends, and it was Tykota. And me and my friends were there, and we all decided to get drinks as well. And so she was collecting people's IDs. And I said, do you want mine too? And as I started pulling mine out, my friend James goes, Tucker, you look like you are 100 years old.
Oh.
And I just put it back in and I put it away. It was a great zing, but it made me realize I've crossed a threshold where it's just, you don't really need to ask me for it.
I never thought about this, but if you were like a younger sister of someone and you got their ID, like for years, that was how people had like a fake ID, right? During the pandemic must have been great because you had to wear a mask all the time.
Oh,
so
sure.
you just, as long as your eyes and like people, how hard are they looking at that, right? Like, to be honest, I bet that was a glorious time for, kids who are like, I'm going to buy some wine coolers. So another, something I wanted, in 2025, I know that I need to travel some more. I've been trying to make up for lost time with some travel, but I should go someplace I haven't been before. And I kind of want to go to the Carolinas.
Okay.
I've never spent any time there. And people say, like, listen, it's like Florida, but with less alligators and less racism. And so I was like, I think I can handle it.
But not like a ton less, just like less.
Enough that it's noticeable.
Enough that it's measurable.
Yeah, right. That'd be fine. So maybe I'll go to South Carolina.
I don't know. 2025 is the year I turned 40.
Yeah.
So it's like, I got to do something that year.
I just talked to another acquaintance of ours who turned 40, and I said, listen, 40 comes not with a bang, but with a whimper, because in your brain, like, I don't feel any different now that I'm 40. In fact, people, when they ask me my age, I'm like, I'm 41, but I act like I'm 18, and that's not me trying to like hit on you and be like, don't worry, baby. Like we're good to go. It honestly is like, I had a birthday party that was a mirror image of my, like, when I turned 13 this year. Yeah. And so,
see, I don't really have birthday parties,
which is too bad. And your birthday is April Fool's Day, which is fun.
Yeah.
But let me tell you something. There's something in your brain that switches over, and even though you don't feel
at 40,
like, you're all of a sudden you're going to start noticing things. Like, you're going to notice, like, God, my feet hurt more often than they like I think they did. Or it's taken me a lot longer to pee than it did before. And maybe because you haven't really noticed and it's been a slow, progression, but there are things you're going to notice and all of a sudden you're going to realize like, oh yeah, I'm to the point of where like I need to start like taking some things a little more seriously when it comes to my body.
Yeah. Yeah, I got to stop doing the McDonald's.
Right.
As much as I'm doing it.
You just got to stop eating sugar cookies by the box, right?
I have been doing good about that. I've done less of a sugar intake, but not enough.
Oh, that's good.
Not enough less.
While we're recording this, I'm looking at a kid who's in another sound booth and like is he on cocaine?
I just know he's
just is
pacing
like
back and forth.
Yeah, like he's
and
worried.
talking to himself.
Yeah, so but to each his own. So that's something I want to do less of in 2025 is pace and talk to myself. Because I want people to think like he's got it together. He knows what he's talking about. He's good to go.
Less pacing, less talking to myself. If I could do that in 2025, I will have it'll be a banner year for me.
I think I need to change some of my leadership style when it comes to 2025. That's something I need to improve upon. Because I think it's to the point of now where like I need to expect things from people who I collaborate with, and I need to hold them accountable when they don't fulfill their end of the bargain. Mm-hmm. And it's something I should have learned in 4th grade when I did my Lewis and Clark project with a kid named Steve, and he totally effed me on the project big time. And we got like not great round of points. And I just in the last 6 months, my 4th grade teacher brought it up to me when I saw her at a point. She's like, remember when you were so excited about that Lewis and Clark project, and it was just kind of a letdown. And I wanted to be like, that's great because that was 30 years ago, and I'm glad you still remember it.
I'm glad that your teacher carries that with them.
Mm-hmm, I know, right? Like, is it seeing me that triggers it, or were you crawling into bed the other night and going like,
do they understand how that you were the victim, that you got screwed over by Steve?
I don't think so.
So they were really saying, wow, remember that time that you fucked up?
Yeah, pretty much.
That you failed. I remember it. I still think about it 30 years later.
Yeah.
I've taught thousands of children.
Yeah.
But your failure 30 years ago. And that was on you, JJ.
This teacher...
Steve told me everything. That was on you.
Steve had
I still talk to Steve. I still talk to Steve.
Bring it up.
He works at a gas station. He says it's because of that.
I think that
you undermined him.
Yeah. I think that Steve had his chance, and if he would have just not wanted to watch Dennis the Menace on VHS, we could have gotten that project to be where it needed to be. Mm-hmm. And
he thought he had joined the military after high school, but it turned out to be a reenactment society.
Yep. That did not provide any college tuition. And look at where he's at today. And here's the thing. He's been turned down for the assistant manager job 4 times by people half his age.
Yeah.
Have taken that, and they've gone on to bigger and better things.
It is a brutal, cutthroat world at the Holiday Corporation.
And you know what he's really sad about is he took the initiative to make a bunch of custom clothing, and now they're turning to Circle K's. And so everything he has, all of that money he spent on custom, like stitching, all awful.
It was a weird turn as an influencer online, but I'm glad he's gonna rebrand with them at least. I know it's gonna cost him a lot of money, but none of his memes make any sense anymore.
I'm glad that you follow him on social media. It's weird that he's only on Threads, right? Like, what an odd choice for you to make. By the way, 2025, do you have a Threads account?
Oh, yeah, because you kind of automatically have one almost if you have Facebook and or Meta, whatever. So I have a Threads account, and anytime I make an Instagram post, I just let it send to everything else. So, like, my Instagrams are going to Threads as well. But I think, in all seriousness, I need 2025 for me to go, you know what? Social media has poisoned my brain. And I mean that in all honesty. It's completely poisoned my brain and my attention span. And I'm going to have to get, because I don't want to turn into that kid.
Yeah.
Right? Who's pacing around the control room.
Talking to himself.
Like he's an animal at the Fargo Moorhead Zoo who has been in the same space. And so they're just pacing in one circle around. I don't want to become that.
Yeah, I don't want that for you either. Like, I don't want you to wear down a section of carpeting. Yeah. I remember when
what would make me feel better?
Huh?
Would be if you fired that kid right now and we could put it on the podcast.
I can't do that right now.
He's
great. That's bad leadership. I told you I'm trying to be a better leader.
Think of the content, though. Think of the views.
I came up with a brilliant idea a few years ago for a promotion, like a radio promotion, and no one ever went with it. It wouldn't be good for my show because we're a news talk, station, but it was called Cash to Quit. And if you would call your boss and quit on the air, we would cover your rent for the month. Right? And so, like, getting what, like, the boss's reaction would be. Wasn't that a great promotion?
I mean, it's a great idea to get attention. There's got to be legal issues.
Why?
I don't know.
I don't think there's anything.
I mean, would they have to say, hey, listen, Bob, just so you know, you're on the air right now?
No.
It's so it's really just getting that full.
And here's the thing, because they can say whatever they want. They can be like, all right, click, and you're done, and you don't get anything out. Or you can get like, are you kidding me? Mm-hmm. Your aunt begged me to give you this job. Are you kidding me? After we kissed. Are you kidding me? After I sent you to that fryer seminar so that you know how to make the fries. I mean, it could go in any direction and just be sugary sweet. So good. So good. One thing I would like to do for 2025 for our podcast, JJ Meets World, is I would really like to re-record our theme song.
Ooh.
And not that the version that we have isn't great, but we've grown a little bit, and the podcast is a little bit different. And
how would you approach it? Do you think?
I think it's a little jazzier, and I think it's shorter, and it gets to the point. I also think that there's some advertising that we can do within the song itself, and I'm just worried that Lucasfilms is going to hear the Indiana Jones reference and give us a cease and desist.
By the way, it's so weird that all of those sponsors we just had on the show suddenly pulled all their sponsorships like at one single time.
Well, yeah. I think
that's wild. I mean, we were flying so high there. We had made like $200 that episode. Mm-hmm. Like that was money in hand.
Yeah.
And now they just left. And I have yet to get a satisfactory answer from you about that, because you're the one, not everyone knows this. You manage all of our business interests, and and you invest all of the proceeds we get from Patreon and all of our sponsorships. And I'm very, very concerned of where the money went, because no one is calling us up right now. As far as I can tell, all of the ad reads that we had written, you already took those out and set those on fire. Like, it was weird. I thought we were going to frame them, and you actually burnt them in a burn pit. So I'd like to know what exactly. My wish for us in 2025 is to find out what you've been doing with the massive amount of money that this show has generated.
Well, this is totally unrelated, but I'd also like to take 2025 and fall for less Ponzi schemes. And I'll be honest. There's a company that imploded who built a lot of buildings, and I met a guy waiting for a bus, and he gave me the opportunity of a lifetime. And he said, "Listen, I just need a couple of bucks, and you can own 20% of this building." And so not only did I give him the money that we made from those reads, but I also gave him any personal money I had on me at the time, which was mainly in Czechoslovakian crown.
Yeah, that was an epic fail.
It was. It truly was. And here's the thing that the listeners don't really know, but I'll spill some tea here. We are going to continue with the Dinkelman and Sons attorneys, because they're going to get free advertising. Well, not free. It's called trade in the industry. They're going to get trade.
You're saying Carter and Sons or Dinkelman?
Isn't it Carter Dinkelman?
It's Carter and Sons.
Carter and Sons.
The teenage boy and his adopted children.
Yeah, but his last name's Dinkelman, right?
I think it's just Carter.
I couldn't read. It was written on a piece of cardboard outside of their clubhouse, and it had gotten wet, so like it was hard to read at that point. But they will be representing us in court as I try and get this back. I was told, though, that Carter is joining an intramural basketball league at his middle school, so he will not be available on Tuesdays or Thursdays, and of course Wednesday is church night. Sure.
And there's always, Thursdays when his dad has to upgrade the firm on his Cybertruck.
Yeah, it's true. It's so true. But it's been good. I also I did something in 2024 I've been meaning to do for a while, which is finally gave away a bunch of that merch that we made in 2020. And so, like, I tell you, it's been a real thrill, though, to watch, like, to see these kids walk around wearing a JJ Meets World shirt. And I'm like, yeah, you are. Yeah. And they were excited about a free shirt. So, keychains? Enamel pins seem to be a big thing.
Oh, God. I have a coworker who is non-ironically wearing a wallet chain. Remember wallet chains?
Yeah. And it's connected to an actual wallet?
Yeah, and his jeans.
Oh.
Those are coming back, JJ. If there's anything he's shown me, those are coming back.
I don't think of all the things that could happen in 2025, that's the one that we've got to put a stop to. If we want humanity to rise up and to continue evolving, we cannot chain our wallets to our pants. It doesn't do service to your wallet. It doesn't do service to your pants. And the fact that you let it dangle outside of that to kind of tempt people to be like, don't even try it, bub. It's like people who put ADT signs in front of their house saying, like, don't even try this house. It's got a security system, which, by the way, you can just buy those signs on Amazon. So if you're a good thief, it shouldn't really matter. That's going to wrap it up for today's show. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to help us continue to produce new episodes each week, visit jjmeetsworld.com, where you can donate to our Patreon, pick up some swag at the merch shop, or follow our link to Apple Podcasts and leave us a 5-star review. You can also follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all the sites the cool kids are using these days. JJ Meets World is produced every week by Tucker Lucas. You can find out more about Tucker's work by visiting moonbasemaria.com. If you want to get in touch with your host with the most, check out linebenders.com, where you can find direct contact info for JJ or booking information. Tucker had to look at his phone to see a calendar like an idiot.